The influence of the moon's 4 phases. Man's relationship with the moon has always been a profound and intimate one, much more so than his relationship with the sun. The sun, with its brilliance, was revered, but since it shone without fail every day, no assurances were needed that it would rise again tomorrow. But the mystical moon held mankind in the sway of her magic and beauty. Her dark face and moods could plague humanity with doubts and foreboding, while her shimmering light brought enchantment, happiness, and romance. Gradually, it became clear that the moon's influence was large and multifaceted and touched every aspect of human life and the environment. Humankind slowly learned to recognize the moon's many faces and interpret her signs. As her movements and their significance began to be better understood, man found he could benefit immensely by following her rhythm and guidance. It is no accident that a woman's natural cycle of reproduction also coincides with the length of the lunar month. Based on these observations, many thousands of years ago, the lunar horoscope was born. In following a lunar month, the rule to remember is, a new moon heralds a new lunar month. The monthly cycle reaches its peak on the 15th day of the lunar month, with the full moon dominating the night sky. It is a spectacle hard to ignore and has awed human beings since the dawn of recorded history. The 4 weeks that comprise the 29.5 days of each lunar month mark the 4 phases of the moon. The first week starts with the new moon and lasts for 7.5 days. The second moon phase makes up what is called the first quarter, which reaches its peak a day before the full moon, the 15th day of the lunar month, which starts the 3rd week of the lunar month, of course. The 4th week of the lunar month begins with what is called the last quarter on the 22.5 day, and this 4th and last phase of 7.5 days brings the lunar month to an end. Note, my own personal notes. So, to recapitulate, the 29.5 days of the lunar month make up the 4 phases of the moon. The new moon starts black. The first quarter of the moon month ends and the second begins when the moon is half full. The second quarter ends and the 3rd phase begins after the full moon's zenith, halfway through the lunar month, the 15th day. The 3rd quarter ends and the 4th quarter begins when the moon is half empty and is returning to an unlit new moon. The Chinese believe that the 4 phases of the moon, like the 4 seasons that make up the year, have their own special functions and significance. Major modern medical studies now show that body rhythm is an important factor that must be taken into consideration when prescribing drugs or chemotherapy. Chinese herbalists and doctors have always been aware of the body's own clock and have prescribed herbs and treatments to be taken at specific times. They went even further by scheduling medical treatment according to the moon's phases. Surgery of any kind, including tooth extractions, was usually done after the full moon, preferably during the last quarter, as bleeding would be considerably less and the wound would heal faster if the moon was in decline. Cutting one's hair was recommended during the first phase of the moon, as it would promote further hair growth in somewhat the same way the pruning branches encourages a tree's renewal. Medications used to regulate a woman's menstrual cycle also had to be taken after the full moon and in the evenings to get the best results. Farmers, too, relied on the moon phases, on which the farmer's almanac is based, to plan the planting and harvesting times of their crops. From my own personal notes, the 4 phases of the moon can be seen to be microcosmic reflections of the 4 seasons of the year. The dark new moon represents spring. The halfway lit moon, or first quarter, represents summer. The full moon period represents the autumn harvest, and the declining moon represents winter and the preparation for next spring. It is important to recognize the sublime resonance between all these cycles and their 4 perennial seasons, which themselves are manifestations of yin and yang, of up and down, of being and non-being, the psychedelic wave of existence. All the layers, the celestial seasonal cycle, which lasts 12 years, the lunar year cycle lasting 1 year, the lunar month lasting 29.5 days. They are all mutually interrelated and can be better learned in each other's presence due to the similarities in their makeup. Note that the following article also describes the character of a person born in the specific season suggested, i.e., a person born in a spring month correlates with a person born during the dark new moon phase, and a summer-born person correlates to the characteristics of a first quarter or half full moon born person, as described. The lunar season does indeed affect the solar disposition of a person. Now back to the Handbook of Chinese Horoscopes by Theodora Lau and Laura Lau. The new moon correlating with spring and wood. The new moon symbolizes birth, renewal, sowing, and awakening. It occurs during the first lunar phase, from the first day to halfway through the 8th day of the lunar month. There are only 30 days in a lunar month, remember. Each phase of the moon is connected to a season, direction, element, and 3 animals of the Chinese cycle. The new moon's season is spring. Its direction is east, and element is wood. The new moon has influence over tiger, rabbit, and dragon. The first phase represents a young and vibrant spring in which birth, growth, and beginnings are emphasized. It is an excellent time to put seed into the ground, to start new ventures, or open a business. People born during the first week of the lunar month are the spring people, equipped with lively, innovative minds, free spirits, and a love for new ideas and adventure. They are equally and generally impressionable, inventive, and outgoing, but also impulsive and restless by nature. First quarter, correlating with summer and fire. The first quarter symbolizes potency, maturity, full growth, or complete development. The second lunar phase occurs from halfway through the 8th day to the 15th day of the lunar month. Remember, there are only 30 days in a lunar month. This phase of the moon corresponds with the summer season, the south direction, and the element is fire. The first quarter rules the snake, horse, and sheep lunar signs. This second phase is identified with summer and denotes both mental and physical maturity, since it ends at the peak of the lunar month. This is a prime time to transplant seedlings and to fertilize the soil to promote lush growth. The moon's continuing ascent favors aggressive and forceful action. Summer or first quarter people will likewise be strong-minded, as they are competent fighters and capable doers. Full of potent energy, they are the leaders of the cycle. The full moon quarter, correlating with autumn and metal. Symbolizing organizations, harvest, collection, and storage, the full moon happens in the third lunar phase, when the moon is past its full zenith or peak, which occurs from the 15th to halfway through the 23rd day of the lunar month. Its season is autumn, its direction is west, and its element is metal. The full moon guides the monkey, rooster, and dog signs of the Chinese cycle. The third phase, commencing with the full moon, has a great affinity for autumn or fall. This is a time to harvest ripened fruit and grain, mend broken fences, cut wood, and preserve food for winter and consolidate one's resources after the harvest. The moon begins her descent after the 15th day. Autumn natives will like to organize, restore order, resolve problems, and settle disputes with intelligence and calm reason. Theirs is the phase of the harvester and collector. The last quarter, correlating with winter and water. The last quarter represents completion, conclusion, hibernation, and rest. It occurs during the 4th lunar phase, from halfway through the 23rd day to the 29th day of the lunar month. This phase of the moon corresponds with the winter season, northern direction, and the water element. It rules the boar, rat, and ox signs. During this 4th week, the lunar month is in its winter, and this is generally the time to settle debts, close a business, or finish up a project. The waning moon is also conducive to the slaughter of livestock, extraction of teeth, pruning of plants, etc. Winter people, born during the last 7.5 days of the last phase, are the thinkers, keepers of confidences, and makers of analytical decisions. Like potent roots that lie asleep in the earth beneath a blanket of winter snow, they will conserve their energy and burst forth with new life when the time is right.